For frictional games, Amnesia the Bunker is a return to basics. It's stripped down and simplified survival horror that prioritizes emergence and relatively deeper gameplay over the spectacle and set pieces found in previous series entries. Set against the terror and ferocity of World War I, French soldier Henri Clement finds himself trapped in an underground bunker. Distant gunfire and the occasional surface explosion his only company. Well, those things, along with man-eating rats and a flesh-tearing monster. The bunker itself, where almost the entirety of the game takes place, is a claustrophobic maze of corridors, locked doors, and traps. With the exit caved in, you'll need to find dynamite and a detonator handle to blow the debris away and escape. Irony is everywhere in Bunker. The small opening in the exit shows a glimmer of hope, but it's also a reminder that escape only leads back to a world at war. Monsters are often metaphors, consequences provoked by the actions of people, or in this case, massive institutions. Bunker's narrative, though, is more straightforward and maybe even a tad predictable, and World War I is used more as a backdrop than a platform to explore deeper meaning. Like all frictional games, Bunker is thickly coated in an outstanding eerie ambience. The hollowed concrete tunnels make sounds echo and reverberate. Explosions and gunfire are ear-ringing blasts that'll likely bring you unwanted attention. But even quieter sounds, like the ticking of Henri's pocket watch, sound different depending on the room. It's a neat bit of audio work. Diary pages, scattered notes, and creepy photographs provide hints as to where to find important tools or how to get by obstacles, and the map will circle objective locations. Specific instructions, though, there are not. As Henri doesn't carry a map with him, you'll have to read signs and remember landmarks and hiding spots all on your own. Structurally, the best comparison for Bunker may be Alien Isolation. It's a game of cat and mouse that pits you against a lethal, unkillable, and relatively unpredictable monster. You'll have to avoid and outsmart it while carefully managing your resources and crafting material. But what Bunker reminds me the most of is Penumbra, Frictional's first series. Penumbra has sections where you sneak around hallways and mining tunnels, avoiding monsters and finding ways to unlock doors and whatnot. Many of the concepts and ideas at play in Bunker are not all that new. Things as small as using an object to block a tunnel, forcing the monster to claw through it before it can get out, Penumbra did as well. Most problems have multiple solutions, sometimes with different outcomes. You can wave a torch at the bunker's mutated rats to make them scurry away, or toss a gas grenade at them, though how you choose to handle these things will likely depend on your available resources and how much noise you're willing to make. The formula works well and all the cogs turn smoothly. There is certainly an elegance to Bunker's design that Frictional makes look effortless, but it's a formula that's been done before and done with more complexity. The bunker itself is organized into 6 separate areas, and you can sort of imagine each area being its own level with different layouts and challenges. These places, like the prison and soldiers' quarters, are where you'll find the resources and items you'll need to progress. In the central area, where all the tunnels converge, you'll find the mission room and your safe room. The mission room functions as a way to acquire new equipment. Around the bunker, you'll find dog tags with codes on the back. Use the codes to open the lockers and you'll get extra resources and important tools. The safe room is where you'll store extra resources and where you'll find maybe the 2 most important items in the game, the generator and the lantern. The generator is both your best friend and worst enemy. It needs fuel to operate and when switched on, makes navigating the bunker much easier and safer, but the generator can only run for so long before running out of fuel. Every time you refuel the generator, Henri sets his pocket watch to match how long the generator has before it runs out, a useful way to keep track of how much time you have in the light as you're exploring the bunker. The lantern hanging from the ceiling is the only way to save your progress. With very few exceptions, there are no checkpoints or autosaves. The generator and lantern form a hub around which the rest of Bunker's experience spins, giving weight to your actions and their consequences. Unlike previous Amnesia games, where staying in the dark too long would somehow or another hurt the protagonist, Henri is unbothered by the dark, which means if you're stubborn like me, you can walk around in total darkness and not worry about using fuel. Problem is, the monster is much more aggressive and active in the dark. Venturing out into the bunker without the lights on is almost a guarantee the monster will crawl out from a hole and search for you. If you successfully hide, it will go away, but it doesn't stay gone for long. This means anything you need or want to do outside the safe room, especially if it takes wastes time or makes noise is going to be vastly more difficult in the dark, as the monster will be much more tenacious. In my playthrough, fuel was the most important resource, even more important than bullets or bandages. Henri does have a mechanically powered flashlight, but charging it and using it is loud, and even a full charge lasts only for a few seconds. Without the need for a constant local light source to fight off insanity, as other Amnesia games require, I almost never used the flashlight. Henri's eyes dilate in darkness, and you can see what's in his immediate vicinity, so taking my chances without the flashlight, at least for me, was the easier and better option. With the lantern being the only way to save your game, there isn't a safety net for mistakes or surprises outside the safe room. If you spend 20 minutes gathering resources only to spring a tripwire grenade and die, you'll lose all 20 minutes of that gameplay and reload at your previous save. The best way to mitigate that risk is by keeping the generator running and staying in the light as much as possible. This is a somewhat risky and, I expect, divisive design choice, as well as one I have mixed feelings about. On one hand, having no safety net is not only tense, but really forces you to pay attention and plan your moves. Once you hit the generator and leave the room, you're going to want to know exactly where you're going and what you plan to do once you get there, while keeping an eye on your pocket watch. This makes those brilliant, quick-thinking moments of escape and improvisation even more valuable and thrilling, as the stakes are high and death comes with a relatively serious price. When bunker systems collide with one another, there are some fantastic moments of excitement and terror. On the other hand, yeah, losing progress and having to repeat the same steps a couple times can be tedious and demoralizing. With the lights on, the monster may not be as aggressive, but it's still there. It will occasionally try to hunt you down, especially if you make noise. This is an issue I think a lot of run and hide horror games have had to deal with. The fear and tension of being caught by the monster can easily transform into anxiety over having to replay or redo the same tasks over and over again. It can be frustrating, which can break immersion and atmosphere. There are a few ways Bunker mitigates this problem, and I think for the most part it does a decent job. Henri's inventory is pretty limited, starting at 6 slots, and important items like his revolver, flashlight, and pocket watch take up space. This does force you to seriously consider what you carry, and if you do die, you likely won't lose that many items. Personally though, the limited inventory and possibility I'd lose it just led me to make constant return trips to the safe room. The bunker is dense, but it's actually not that big, so redoing things or making return trips to the lantern to save progress, while tedious, at least doesn't take very long. And while the monster is fairly unpredictable, you can track it through the air ducts, its footsteps are loud, and Henri's heart rate increases as it gets closer, giving you a quasi-proximity detector. It also doesn't appear to be the most curious of monsters. Hiding places are fairly abundant, like desks, tables, and beds, and as long as you stay quiet and out of sight, the monster, at least in my experience, doesn't seem to check hiding spots very often. Besides blocking tunnels, you can try and lure the monster into a trap, which may force it to flee for a bit. If things get really dire, a shot from Henri's revolver will send it running too, though ammo is scarce and you definitely don't want to be there when the monster returns. Funny enough, there were a few times the monster triggered traps while I was nowhere near them, a quirky outcome of Bunker's emergent design that can also provide opportunities, though I wouldn't depend on it. Bunker's simplicity is a double-edged sword. I legitimately enjoyed its gameplay and survival elements. They are extremely clean and well organized, but the ideas here are also well trodden. I'm not sure it's all that distinct from what the genre's produced over the last decade or so. Bunker is a fun, competent, and enjoyable experience, but also an experience that relies on old and recycled tricks.